the Distinguished Alumna in Rehabilitation Psychology and Special Education, Dr. Julie Causton. Dr. Causton is a best-selling author and founder of Inclusive Schooling, dedicated to promoting inclusive education worldwide. With a background as a public school educator and a former professor at Syracuse University, where I also had the pleasure of working with her before I made my way back here to Madison, Dr. Causton has helped countless educators and school leaders create environments where every student can thrive. Her transformative work in professional development and her commitment to reimagining educational systems have made her a leading voice in inclusive education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Julie Causton.
I'll tell you what, school for me was the worst, the all-time worst. And you know what was the worst? Sitting and being quiet. How many people here are struggling with sitting today? Okay, good. Yep, right. So I'm someone who has ADHD as an attribute and superpower. It causes me to write lots of books so I stay out of trouble and stuff like that. And I'm really psyched to talk to you all today. Thank you for coming. Here's the agenda. I'm someone who likes an agenda. Raise your hand if you're an agenda maker. Who's a to-do list maker? Does anyone do stuff like this? Brush my teeth, and then you cross it out because you just, right? Okay, that's just a dopamine hit, and you need it, and it's good. It's fine. It's fine. Today I'm going to talk about the power of circle making, and I'm going to talk about some lessons learned from SU. Nope, not even SU, UW. So SU was where I was for 14 years as a tenured professor. Okay, if you're worried, you should be, because right now I'm going to ask you to do something a little different. I'm going to ask you, number one, not to use the restroom at this time. I'm watching the doors. Number two, I'm going to ask you to find somebody in the room that you've not met before. And I've been watching all day, and I know who you've all spoken to, so do not mess with me, okay? I have a map, I know who knows who. I'm going to pick Sean because Sean is someone like me who struggled in school because of having to sit still. Big, big, big struggle. When both Sean and I saw the desk in school, we thought this isn't going to go well, right? And so we met each other today. That's why it counts that he could be my partner. We don't know each other, although we're best friends pretty much already. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is come up with 3 commonalities. So you're going to find a partner that you haven't met yet, which is probably raising your anxiety a bit. That's okay. So it's raising everybody's, no worries. You're going to find a partner you haven't met yet, and you're going to just chat and come up with commonalities. As you come up with commonalities, you're going to celebrate that. You're going to give each other a high five, or if you like to do a hip bump, or if you like to do a fist bump, it's your choice, okay? Has anyone read ahead what happens at the end? Some of you are using visual cues right now, so you're noticing that it says what? Celebratory dance, and you're like, how is this going to work? So at the very end, you're going to do a celebratory dance to, complete your connection with your new best friend, okay? So we'll just demonstrate. Hi, I'm Julie. Nice to meet you.
Sean, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So I watched the debate this week. Did you?
I did watch the debate.
And then we go, 1, okay? You can jump as high as you want. Right now, we both need to jump a lot, okay? So a really nice jump high in the air. We say 1. All right. Do you have any cats?
I don't have any cats, but I have a dog.
I have a dog. Ready? Bam. 2. Got it? And then I have a hobby, and it's called getting massages.
Oh, I love massages.
Great. 3, okay? And then this is it. This is the moment where whatever you want to do, you do, okay? Some of you, thank you, you're amazing. Let's thank Sean. We're going to be all doing it at the very same time, okay? So don't worry. And if you're someone right now who's like literally sweating, you can choose a different way, right? You can stay seated. You can just have a quick conversation. And I don't have a map of who you know, so you can pick someone that you love who's next to you or not, okay? I'm about to say go. I'd like everybody to stand, find someone new. Ready, go. Awesome. Say thank you to your new best friend and have a seat. Thank you, Adrian. Okay. Some of those dances were incredible. Some of them, they're fine, right? Some of them are just fine. I'm not pointing anyone out. But let's just talk about this for a minute. Learning happens in relationship. Learning happens in communication. And so one of the things, I titled my talk 7 Things I Learned at UW-Madison. I should have called it 2 million things or something. I'm not very accurate with numbers, which was a problem for me in school. And I also wanted to tell you that this is not my first award from UW-Madison. It's my second. I got an award as a junior for being the most improved student in the School of Education. Thank you. Thank you. I forgot to sign my form. I forgot to say what I was going to eat. Executive functioning isn't my jam, so I showed up. I was in jeans. It was a big deal. I had an empty table because they thought maybe I'd bring friends or family. I was there for the food. So anyway, it's my second award. And school for me, like I said, really sucked. And today I'm going to talk about inclusive education, which is really thinking about the range of learners in any space, the range of learners in any place, and making sure that school fits for them. So I see lots of people using their phones for this. This is great. If you'd like, we'll put this up later too. I have a dashboard there. And Austin's going to show you where the resources are. Did you do it already? He's amazing. So it looks like this when you get there. You scroll down, cha-cha-cha, and then those are clickable links. So click to access resources for today. I'm going to be talking about the definition of inclusion. I'm going to be talking about circle making. I'm going to be talking about some of this work. And all of that's just there for you to take and use, okay? I'm also doing 2 presentations tomorrow. You can look at all those resources if you want. Okay, that's it. That's what I wanted to tell you. Okay, back to it. I have a really cute family. This is my cute wife, Ellen. Do you mind standing up? She never comes to things like this, so she's like, this seems terrible. And she was really worried that she had to do the dancing thing until I met Sean. Okay, I've written lots and lots of books about inclusion. The most recent one is The Way to Inclusion. It's a principal's guide and an administrator's guide. I've written lots of books about behavior. I've written lots of books about just inclusive practices. And then I've written 2 children's books. One is called The Too Much Unicorn. Raise your hand if you've ever been called too much. Great. I'm just like, where are my best friends in the room? Okay. Right. Always too loud, always too many cartwheels. You're not supposed to do that at school, that stuff, right? I was an elementary school teacher in Madison, Wisconsin. So I loved it so much. I taught elementary, middle, and high school. And then I moved on to be a professor at Syracuse University. And I led the inclusive elementary program there. Raise your hand if you have any cats. Just like to see where my cat people are. Okay, good. We have 3 cats. One of them has one eye, named Skippy John Jones. And then this dog is named Maisel. And Maisel has anyone seen on TikTok dogs who communicate with buttons? Maisel does that, and it's the coolest. And I'd rather talk about that, but I'm supposed to talk about something else. So we're going to move on. All right, I'm going to show you a quick film called The Power of Circle Making. It's called the Circle Maker Series, and PBS contacted me and said, will you give us a definition of inclusive education? So we're going to start there, centering the thoughts around what I learned at UW-Madison.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Julie Causton, and I'm here to talk about what is inclusion with a story that I've written called The Circle Makers. Long ago in schools, we tried to draw lines to make distinctions between students. These lines were drawn in thick, dark ink between people. These lines were drawn to mark the differences between them. These lines were supposed to be helpful. They were supposed to help teachers distinguish between those who could go fast and those who needed to go slow. These lines were meant to help teachers teach the right stuff in the right way. These lines made some people feel comfortable and safe. One problem was there were so many lines that we had to put labels on our lines to keep them straight. General education, special education, learning disabilities, emotional disabilities, gifted and talented English language learners, intellectual disabilities, special education rooms, special education hallways, special education schools. Another problem was when we drew these lines, someone was always on one side and someone was always on the other. Someone was always left out. Someone was always given less. someone who was always wanting to be seen or heard or part of. Another problem was that people assumed that students on one side of the line were typical learners, and that typical was real and that average was true, and that anyone who wasn't average had to go somewhere else to learn something else. The problem was people saw disability as something that needed to be fixed, and it needed to be fixed over there in a different room in a separate space. Eventually, these lines created separate boxes or classrooms, a separate system with separate teachers, classes for students who were thought to need separate things. People even started to think that separate lines and boxes were good. Another problem was every person on both sides of any line had different needs. Every person needed to go fast sometimes and slow at other times. Every person was more curious about certain things and bored by other things. Every person had things they were good at and other things they were not good at. So often the lines were blurry. Sometimes people couldn't agree on where to place the lines. Sometimes even the line makers argued about where to place the lines. These lines and these boxes weren't real, but people thought they were. At the same time, we knew that separate was never equal. We knew that humans needed to be together and belong in order to learn and grow. We knew that separation from other people was likely to affect everyone's hearts and minds. So in education, we decided we had to do something. We had to bend some lines and move some lines and erase others. We had to take all the lines and stick them together end to end. It took a lot of time and a lot of work. This now made a brand new long line that we kept bending and bending and bending. The new line connects end to end. This new line is called inclusive education. This new line is a circle. This new circle was very difficult for the original line makers. You see, when they went to school, straight lines existed. Straight lines were important. They grew up thinking some children belong on certain sides of certain lines. And change is hard, especially for line makers. This new circle is called inclusive education, and it means we value everyone. We use this new line to connect, not to separate. Inclusive education means we are curious about how we are alike and how we are different. We challenge and support everyone. We teach to students' individual strengths. We give students choices. We celebrate what is unique about each person, because we learn best with and from those who are different than us. What happened to the line makers? Turns out line makers are the most excellent circle makers. As soon as they saw that these circles created new opportunities for their students and new connections and a sense of belonging, these circles helped students to do better, to learn more, and to make friends. It turns out that students who used to be on one side of the line were excellent teachers of students who used to be on the other side of the line. And the exact opposite was also true. It turns out that it wasn't just good for students on one side of the line, it ended up to be better for all students on every side of any line. But the story does not end with just drawing the circles. Like a circle, this story has no end. It's simply the beginning. Being together inside the circle is the very first step. It's what happens inside the circles where the true magic can be found. To all of you circle makers, let's continue to create wider and wider circles together.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to do a turn and talk. Turn and talk. What's one thing you noticed in the video? One thing at all that you noticed. And a turn and talk is an all invite, meaning I'd like everybody to do this at the same time. Ready, go. All right, thank you, everyone. If you can come back, thank your partner for their insights and ideas. So I could tell you all about what Circle Makers means to me, but you already got to hear from me. I just want to ask a different question. If I did a raise and respond in the room and said, who has a comment about the video, how many hands do you suppose I would have gotten? Probably Sean, right? Probably Sean. Yeah, Yeah, there'd be about 2, 3, and then there's those people who pretend to take notes as soon as they're just like, no, I got a thing to write, because you don't want to be the one to speak in a larger group. What we have to remember is we've got to give access points to all people all the time. The raise and respond is one of the worst ways to engage humans. Sean loves it. I loved it, right? We had a lot to say, and everybody had to listen, right? But not everybody thrives in that environment. So we've got to be always thinking about access points. And for me, what I'm going to do today is tell you that everything I learned is from UW. You have the Circle Makers video on your dashboard if you're interested, so you can take it and use it. Okay, this is going to be another turn and talk opportunity. Isn't this exciting? Another opportunity. So I'm going to read the definition of inclusive education, and this definition was born here. This definition came from being in a place that taught me that kids with disabilities do not need to be in separate spaces, and that when we do that, we're causing problems for children, academically, behaviorally, etc. So I'm going to read the first part, and then I'm going to have you turn and talk and name a word or two that means something to you, okay? Inclusive education means we no longer accept that separate classrooms, separate schools, and separate lives are in the best interest of any student. Separating people by ability disadvantages everyone. Belonging is a human need. Our educational system, practices, and spaces need to be reimagined. Quick turn and talk. What words popped out for you? You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. That was an example of what I saw was 100% participation. In schools, we need more opportunities for 100% participation, right? How many people said the word reimagined popped out for them? Kimber, you did. Good. How many people said belonging? How many people said human need? Okay. Any other words? Spaces, separate spaces. Good. I'm going to read the second part. This is the second part of our definition. Inclusive education means every student is valued because of their strengths, gifts, and even challenges, as disability is simply diversity. Everyone benefits from meaningful participation and opportunities to learn grade-level content with diverse peers. We must trust that all students come to us as incredible, whole people who do not need to be fixed. Okay, now, I do know who you've been turning and talking with. Turn a different way, find someone else. What words for this paragraph? Ready, go. Real learning is loud, right? Real learning is loud and it's engaging and there's lots going on in a classroom. Let me ask you this quickly. How many people said disability is diversity was what you talked about? Okay, how many people said incredibly whole people who do not need to be fixed? Good. What else did you say? Say it again. The valued for strengths, gifts, challenges, the whole package. Beautiful. Anything else? Trust. We must trust that students come to us as incredible whole people. Good. Thank you. Okay. On the dashboard, you have this definition if you want it, so you don't have to write it down unless you like to take notes. What I realize all the time is people say to me, "Oh, we tried inclusion. It didn't work, wasn't great, it wasn't fun," right? And when they say that, they haven't tried real inclusion, because real inclusion has really important ingredients. It means we redesign structures and we stop segregating or separating kids with disabilities. It means we think about hiring inclusive-minded people. It means we eliminate barriers. We create welcoming spaces where students' multiple identities are seen and celebrated. It means we co-teach in all sorts of new ways. Today I've already co-taught with Sean and Austin, right? We've got to use each other's strengths and work together. We partner with families, we differentiate, we provide additional support, and we utilize challenging behaviors. I'm going to read how do we use challenging behaviors. We see challenging behaviors as an opportunity to create warm and safe relationships, reduce stressors, soothe systems, and nurture students' well-being. When you see challenging behaviors, you say, awesome, I have this opportunity right now. This is my job, okay? It's on your dashboard in English and Spanish, in case you're interested. All that came from UW-Madison and more. The first, and I hope you saw it in our discussions with each other, relationships are the active ingredient in learning. Fred Rogers Institute is where this came from. Do you all know toothpaste? Raise your hand if you use something like Crest or Colgate and the active ingredient is fluoride. Probably most of us, right? Some of you do not, and the active ingredient is like sawdust. I don't know what it is exactly, but I don't. It's fine, but that's not what I use. That means fluoride in that example is the thing that makes it work. The thing, one thing, active ingredient. Relationships are the active ingredient in learning. Inclusion doesn't rest on one person's shoulders. It takes all of us to do the work. This is the part I'll probably cry because mentors are here and it's really, really amazing. Raise your hand if you knew Dr. Lou Brown. Oh, yay. Dr. Lou Brown, Dr. Kimber Malmgren, can you stand, Kimber? You have to. Thank you. And Alice Udvari-Solner and Colleen Capper and so many others. I took a class with you, Gloria, but you don't remember me because I didn't show up a lot, that's why. But I loved it, but I just couldn't get out of bed. So anyways, different story. So mentorship fuels success, and the mentors that I had here are unmatched. Something else is that inclusion is a belief system, it's not a program. People say, like, we tried inclusion last week and it wasn't our jam. No. It's a deep belief that every student is capable and deserving of an environment where they're valued and supported. Valued and supported, both. We have to challenge our assumptions. I was eavesdropping on Marcel's conversation, and she said, we were line makers when I went to school. We learned where those lines were, and we knew 2 standard deviations below the norm. They go to that room. This type of behavior, you're over there, right? And it means we have to challenge our own assumptions about disability. And that's the only way we can dismantle systems, is if we think about our own biases. When I was here, I did so many cool things, but one of the things is that I got to examine IEPs in a court case. And I had to look at the reason for exclusion, the LRE, Least Restrictive Environment Clause. And we won the case in Pennsylvania because they were just saying over and over again, this student can't benefit from general education. That was the phrase, repeatedly. And what we've found is, I've never met a student that can't benefit from general education. We can figure out how to do it, and there's a really important legal imperative. I've done 12 court cases in the past 10 years on inclusive education, and we've won every single one of them. Rethinking what's possible for kids. It's not about fixing kids, it's about fixing systems. Too often, we think we've got to remove and remediate, and I think we have to do things very differently than that. I can't believe I didn't tell you who my kids were on that first slide. I have the world's cutest kids, but I was nervous, I forgot. Anyway, this is Sam when he was a 2nd grader. He was born in Wisconsin, and he's legally blind. And I just have to tell you a teeny story because I was like, oh my gosh, right. So Sam's legally blind, and he comes home from school and he goes, Mom, I can't find my friends at the playground because they're changing their jackets and coats and hats, and I can't figure out who's who. And I was like, oh my gosh, Sam, this is what I do for a living. Like, let me get some chart paper and markers, you know what I mean? I'm like, what wall are we gonna use, you know? And he's like, oh no, Mom, forget it. Forget it. So I was like, what? I was really hurt. He's like, seriously, forget it. So he goes to his 2nd grade teacher and says, Mrs. Procopio, I'm having a hard time finding my friends on the playground. Can I have 5 minutes on the morning meeting agenda? And she's like, totally, yeah. He's like, can you scribe? Yeah, I'll scribe. He goes, they're gonna have so many ideas. How are we gonna keep track? She's like, I got it, I'll scribe for you. So he explains, can't find you guys on the playground. There's all these kids. 2nd graders knew this was a problem. Don't you think, Rita? 2nd graders know. Rita taught 2nd grade, she's amazing. And they know that this isn't okay. So hands went up. Sam started calling on people. First solution, we need those pennies that you wear in gym class, and our class will wear them over our coats. So she writes, pennies from gym class, got it. Second idea, we need those hats, day glow hats that runners wear, so you can find us, and then it'll be great. Day glow hats. Third idea, we need walkie-talkies. Walkie-talkies. Okay? There were a lot more ideas that day, but I don't have much time. Turn and talk and answer the question, which of those things won the vote by a landslide? Everybody turn and guess. Go. What do you think? Okay. Landslide. Landslide victory. So walkie-talkies, for sure, were needed in this classroom. Mrs. Procopio says, no problem. I have some downstairs in my basement. I'm bringing them. He told me this idea, and I was like, this is a stupid idea, right? It was like the worst idea I've ever heard. I don't know how to work, but okay. He didn't listen to my ideas, and that's how it's going to be. So she calls me at 10 at night. I hope you've heard several things about Mrs. Procopio. Turn and talk. What have you heard about Mrs. Procopio so far, really quickly? She called me at 10 at night. What else? What else? What else? Okay, really quickly, I'm going to use a raise and respond and go against everything. What's one thing you learned? Yeah. She's a yes person. Whatever you want to do, second graders, I'm in, right? Anything else? Yeah? She's a facilitator. Yeah? She cares. She's a circle maker through and through. Yeah, Sam felt good coming in and saying, here's the problem. Yeah. Trust the kids. Yeah, she trusts them. She has a morning meeting, for example. That's where they solve problems for the community. So, it's been decided. I run into someone at the grocery store at Wegmans, and she says, hi, is your kid Sam? And I said, yeah. My kid has a walkie-talkie appointment with Sam on Thursday. I'm like, I don't know. Nobody let me in on this plan, so I don't know. So I come there on a day to bring cupcakes to school. Sam is standing alone on the playground. I knew it. It's a terrible idea, right? So I'm like, Then he takes out, this is my pedometer, but I'm going to pretend it's a walkie-talkie. He takes out his walkie-talkie and he goes, I'm looking for Baden, over and out. And then I hear, Baden's been located. He's on the slide. Good buddy. And Sam goes and finds Baden, and they play. And I was like, oh my gosh, if you don't know how to do this work, ask a second grader. Ask kids. They know. We get in the way. I would have made a board maker picture symbol thing. It probably would have had Velcro or something stupid on it, right? It's been special Eddie or some nonsense. No. The answer was walkie-talkies. The answer is true friendships. The answer is relationships always. So the last thing I want to say is, at UW-Madison, I learned the power of circles in education. It's possible to create environments where everyone belongs, and we just need to keep widening our circles. You have a dashboard if you want. I put a bunch of stuff on it, so you can grab it if you haven't. A new article called Achieving Inclusion. It's for families, and a bunch of other stuff, too. Okay, Q&A. Kimber said don't sit down. Back up. Okay. Is that okay? Any questions? That was a lot. Yeah, Lisa.
Tell us about your kiddos and that first.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Okay, will you use it to get there? She's going to get there, and then I'll tell you about them. They're so cute. During the movie, I couldn't think about anything because I didn't do it. Okay, thanks. This is Ella Josephine. She goes to Skidmore College. This is Samuel Athan, and he just graduated Brown University. He did all right. Those are my kids. They're amazing. And I can't believe I forgot to tell you about them. But Sam's looking for a job in politics. Sam was also a long-distance runner and legally blind. So I said, don't worry, just follow the person in front of you. But then he was the fastest person. So I was like, oh, man, I don't know an adaptation for this. So at all of his meets, he got to walk the course backwards first, and then he could run it so that he could figure it out and still win if he wanted. And Ella's in math and theater. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
So everyone can hear.
We were talking a little bit about the reimagining and how the systems themselves are so stressed when it comes to school, period, just getting teachers to stay. The system is stressed. So how do you reimagine when the system is stressed?
Okay, really good question. The system is stressed because we have silos. I work over here, I teach special ed. I work over here, I teach general ed. I bring these kids over here, they leave your classroom, then they come back, we fix them, and they're good. When you reimagine education, it means special ed teachers and general education teachers work in the same room together and support all kids all the time. A lot of the strategies that are about inclusive education, if you come to the talk tomorrow, I'm going to talk about what happens to academics and all those kinds of things. But what we've also found is teacher retention, because now I have a co-teacher that I can play with all day in the classroom. I can take new risks as an educator. I can see when someone's struggling. And it's really a move away from sort of what I call back table inclusion, which is like, let's put all the kids with learning disabilities over here, and it's going to be inclusive. It's not that at all. It's reimagining every aspect of teaching and learning. And teachers find it to be so much better after 3 years. Year 1, year 2, year 3, not fun. It's just a whole new identity, a whole new skill set. And I find that we have to teach the heart set, the skill set, and the mindset. They're 3 different things. And if they don't have one or the other, it's not going to work.
Given what you just said about the 3 sort of shifts, what does that mean for you in terms of teacher preparation?
It means everything. It means we stop siloing teacher education programs. It means, so Syracuse University has a combined inclusive program. We don't separate teachers because we don't separate kids, and we teach all teachers to teach all kids. And it means that we have to reimagine. We already know what good teaching and learning looks like, but when we go to our classrooms, I think I'm in 14,000 school systems right now doing work through inclusive schooling. And every time we work with them about how to do things different and better, and then we come to the classroom and there's still the raise and respond, there's still the let's pull out for this, let's pull out for this, let's pull out for this. So it takes every aspect of education to be rethought in order to do this well. And when we create teachers from the start that don't see the divisions, we're doing a lot better.
So the Department of Rehabilitation Psychology and Special Education is pleased to honor Dr. Julie Causton, who is a visionary leader in inclusive education. As a best-selling author, inspiring speaker, and founder of Inclusive Schooling, Dr. Causton has been a driving force in advocating for educational equity. Her work has uplifted and transformed countless schools, families, and educators across the country. A former tenured professor at Syracuse University and a special educator at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, Dr. Causton has dedicated her career to creating inclusive environments, inclusive learning environments. With numerous books and over 30 published articles, her innovative ideas continue to shape the future of inclusive education. So Dr. Causton, thank you for your contributions to your field and community and for carrying forth the Wisconsin idea. On behalf of the School of Education, we are honored to present you with the Distinguished Alumni Award in Rehabilitation Psychology and Special Education.